Well, thanks for coming out, everyone. Thank you for keeping all of our residents informed. And I want to thank all of our residents for doing a great job so far of staying in, staying safe. We wanted to give a little bit of an update on where we stand now and the cleanup efforts that will be to come. So first of all, I am incredibly honored every day to work alongside the best coworkers on the planet, but really it is during these winter storms and times when every single department has to be all hands on deck 24 hours that you really see what service means in Boston. And so to every one of our city workers, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for working the incredibly long shifts, for staying at this, for tackling now we're now at 40 inches of snow before this storm started, and I imagine we will be breaking some records as we see how the numbers settle over the next couple of hours as well. So thank you to everyone for staying home and hunkering down in this historic nor'easter. We have had fewer EMS and fire calls than usual, and that shows that the city is doing a great job of staying off the roads. I know that means a lot to our first responders and plow operators who are out there doing their best, and they've been doing that under incredibly difficult conditions. The snow really picked up around 5 a.m. Wind was howling, gusts upwards of 50 miles an hour, and the rate of snowfall creating whiteout conditions. Anything that's greater than about half an inch per hour is very, very difficult to maintain and keep up with in terms of our plows getting the pavement clear. We saw upwards of 2 inches an hour for several hours and met the official criteria for a blizzard as deemed by the National Weather Service, and the snow has continued to come down. The snow emergency remains in effect right now, and we need everyone to continue to stay home because going out can make things more difficult and more dangerous for our public works teams and for first responders who are on the roads as well. Our latest forecast projects snowfall until about 6 p.m., so we're nearing the end of it, but then another inch or so between 6 and 9 p.m. when accumulation should stop. We're asking residents, as soon as the snow does stop, please try and when you're able to shovel out your sidewalks and cars, fire hydrants, please shovel sidewalks at least 42 inches across so all our neighbors can get around and shovel all the way from the front of your property to the crosswalk. The city has been working in lockstep across departments to respond to the storm, and we are seeing the numbers come in on all fronts. Our public works crews have had more than 900 plows and snow spreaders out on the roads at the height of the storm, and we still have almost 700 out there now as we're now approaching different shift changes. EMS teams have responded to calls in a timely manner despite the conditions, and I want to thank everyone who called 911 when they saw someone outside who was not dressed for the weather or prepared. We were able to locate several individuals and get people to shelter overnight or to warmth and safety. I spent a little bit of time last night at the Pine Street Inn with the outreach workers who were preparing to go back out yesterday night when the outreach van. We have an incredible group of community providers who come together with the city's outreach teams, our Public Health Commission, and our housing and homelessness efforts to make sure that every single person can have that transportation and have the services they needed to stay safe and to stay warm. And our language and communications access team recorded public safety messages in 10 different languages that were put out over the vans going out with speakerphones to keep residents informed about the snow emergency and the parking ban. I want to thank our 311 call takers who have been receiving those calls at a steady clip as well. Everyone who has been reporting downed trees or other issues. It's incredibly helpful to have that all in our system, and we're getting out there and responding to those requests as quickly as possible. So far, Boston has not received any reports of flooding, which we're very thankful for, but we have responded to about 25 downed tree calls so far. And we have had some limited power outages. Many of those have been resolved, and we know that for those residents who were experiencing that, it was quite scary. But the number, thankfully, has been far less than we've seen in other parts of the state. This storm combined a lot of heavy snow with incredibly high winds speeds, which means it will take us a little bit to dig out. So some updates for the next 24 hours. We are canceling school again tomorrow, and we will be delaying the opening of libraries and community centers until 12 noon tomorrow. All other city buildings will operate on regular hours. Our crews will be working overnight and all day tomorrow to widen the streets, concentrating on main arteries and school access roads. And so to help them work and to just try to get that done faster and better, we are maintaining the snow emergency and parking ban until at least 6 p.m. tomorrow. After the snow stops, please shovel out your cars sooner than later so our plows don't have to redo their work, and try to not throw the snow into the street or into the sidewalk. Try to pile it in front of or behind the cars. Each of our neighborhood liaisons will also be holding Love Your Block volunteer shoveling meetups tomorrow to clean out problematic areas. We have been tracking with the previous storms this season which areas have had more calls come in for different snowbanks or other issues that might have been private property or MBTA or state property, but we will get out there with those shovels, and thank you to everyone who's interested in volunteering and joining us. You can help out, find out where all those locations are at boston.gov/shovel. So stay safe, stay warm, and if you see anyone outside who needs help, please call 911 right away so we can get support out to them. For all non-emergency issues during and after the storm, please call 311 or use the 311 app. I do want to note because we've had so much snow already leading into this storm, the streets team has been really getting feedback, whether it's from our cyclist community or from neighborhood leaders or other residents, to understand how we could do things better as well. So we're trying out some new things, for example, holding that parking ban a little bit longer just to give more time to plow all the way to the curb before those parked cars start getting back into the snow. We also are going to be, you'll hear about this shortly, I believe, piling the snow away from intersections and concentrating more on removal so we can get those snowbanks away from the intersections. They'll be temporarily in where the parked cars would be kind of mid-block, but then taken away to snow farms and then melted over there. So we know that this takes a ton of patience from everyone. Our number one goal is to make sure that everybody is safe. And then we want to get the city back up and running, get schools back open as quickly as possible, and make sure that we remember that we are a winter city. We're a New England city. We know how to do this. There will be piles of snow for some time as we continue to dig out. So I ask for everyone's patience, and thank you for being a good neighbor to all of your neighbors and community members as well. Okay, one more time in Spanish, and then I'll pass it over to Chief Gove. Gracias, buenas noches, gracias por quedarse en casa a través de esta tormenta histórica. Hemos tenido menos llamadas para paramédicos y bomberos de lo normal, cual significa que están haciendo un gran trabajo manteniéndose fuera de las carreteras. Y sé que eso significa mucho para nuestros trabajadores que están haciendo lo mejor que pueden ahora mismo. Nuestros últimos pronósticos proyectan nevadas constantes hasta las 6 de la tarde y luego otra pulgada más o menos de nieve entre las 6 y las 9 de la noche, cuando la acumulación debería detenerse. Pedimos a los residentes que limpien sus aceras y carros lo antes posible después de que termine la nieve. Por favor, palea las aceras de al menos 42 pulgadas de ancho para que todos nuestros vecinos puedan moverse. Y palea todo el camino desde el frente de su propiedad hasta el paso de peatones. La ciudad ha estado trabajando en todos los departamentos para responder a esta tormenta. Y lo estamos haciendo bien en todos los frentes. No hemos recibido informes de inundaciones. Hemos respondido a alrededor de 25 llamadas de árboles caídos y en ningún momento más del 1% de los residentes se quedarán sin electricidad. Esta tormenta combinó mucha nieve pesada con fuertes vientos, lo cual significa que nos tardará un poco salir de esta. Entonces, algunas actualizaciones para las próximas 24 horas. Vamos a cancelar la escuela mañana y retrasaremos la apertura de bibliotecas y centros comunitarios hasta el mediodía. Los demás edificios públicos y oficinas de la ciudad abrirán a su horario normal. Nuestros equipos trabajarán durante toda la noche y todo el día de mañana para limpiar las calles, concentrándose en las arterias principales y las carreteras de acceso a las escuelas. Para ayudarlos a trabajar, estamos manteniendo la emergencia de nieve y la prohibición de estacionamiento hasta mañana a las 6 de la tarde. Después de que para la nieve, por favor, saquen sus carros lo antes posible para que nuestros trabajadores no tengan que rehacer su trabajo y traten de no tirar nieve a la calle o a la acera. Intenten apilarla delante y detrás de los coches. Cada uno de nuestros contactos del vecindario celebrará reuniones de voluntarios para paliar mañana para limpiar las áreas problemáticas de la última tormenta. Aprenda cómo puedes ayudar yendo a boston.gov/shovel. Si ve a alguien afuera que parece necesitar ayuda, llame a 911 inmediatamente y nuestros equipos le responderán. Y para todos los problemas que sean emergencias durante y después de la tormenta, llama al 311 o use la aplicación Boston 311. Gracias. Okay, now I'll pass it on to Chief Nick Gove, Chief of Streets.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Boston Traffic Management Center. As of 3 p.m. today, over 15 inches of snow has fallen, as reported at Boston Logan Airport. However, many of our neighborhoods, particularly in the southwest side of the city, have seen more than that, and we'll have some updated snowfall totals probably tomorrow. We're still expecting upwards of another couple inches as the storm tapers off this evening. These nor'easters can be typically slow to exit, and that coupled with some blowing and drifting snow is going to push the initial phase of our snow removal operation into tomorrow morning. Before I kind of detail our plans moving forward, I would like to thank everybody for staying off the roads today. This was a tremendous help for our teams. Really made our job a lot easier not having a heavy commute this morning. And I also like to thank DoorDash and Grubhub, who temporarily suspended food delivery. That was another help as well. I also want to thank everybody who took the time to move their vehicles from snow arteries yesterday. Again, this is something that really helps us out. As the mayor mentioned, the parking ban is going to be in place until at least 6 p.m. Tomorrow. And that means you'll have until 8 p.m. to get your vehicle from our partner garages to take advantage of the discounted rates. We do ask for your continued compliance with the parking ban. We did have to pause this morning just due to the conditions weren't conducive for towing. But we are going to go out and remove the cars that are remaining tonight so we can get back and push those main arteries back to the curb. Reminder on trash and recycling pickup, everything is delayed by 1 day this week. So Monday's collection will start tomorrow. Again, please try to put trash in a visible location. Really helps these sanitation teams. They're gonna have a tough week. And then also for buildings who have containers and dumpsters, we just ask that there's an accessible route to those assets so the trucks can get in there. We've maintained a significant presence throughout the storm. We've had over 900 pieces of equipment at the height of the storm. Our salt supply remains steady. We are conserving that, though, given the cycle we're in and another system that we're currently forecasting. Once the storm tapers off tonight, we're going to push back streets to the curb. We're going to be trying some of the new methods that the mayor mentioned. People may see some large piles mid-block on these main routes. We'll be back to remove those tomorrow and other nights this week. We're intentionally trying to store some of this snow away from the intersections that really created some problems during the last event. This will allow the easier clearing of crosswalks and curb cuts. Tomorrow is going to be all about focusing on schools and getting those facilities reopened for Wednesday. We understand many of you are going to be digging out tomorrow yourselves, and we really ask that you don't throw snow back into the street. When we have to return to plow, that snow is eventually going to end up back in the curb cuts that you've worked very hard to clear out. So we just ask for your patience. If you can, work as a neighborhood to do the clean out of your streets, particularly clearing out parking spaces. We understand side streets are really tight in some neighborhoods, and we just ask for everybody's patience. while we work through that. Fortunately, we are not forecasting an extended period of sub-freezing conditions like we did last month. Storm cleanup is far from over, but I do want to thank our city employees and contractors who've worked tirelessly over the last 24 hours and who will continue to work all week to keep the city open and accessible. We do anticipate snow removal is going to run right through the weekend. As I mentioned, we are forecasting a small clipper system potentially Wednesday into Thursday, which may pause some of that operation, but we will get back on it as soon as we can. And as always, we are looking at the long-term forecast too. So we'll be making sure that we prioritize so we're ready for the next event. And you know, while right now, fortunately, this does not look like a historic event for the city of Boston, you know, our partners on the South Coast are dealing with a truly historic event, record-breaking snowfall down there. So we just ask everybody to think about them as they're going to be working through really couple difficult days. Thank you. With that, I'll hand it over to Chief Hooley.
Thanks, Chief Gove. Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. But also, thanks for yesterday helping to really get the word out, because people really did heed it. We had a lot of success being able to navigate the streets today, to get around, one, because of the work that Public Works and all their contractors are doing, but also the fact that a lot of people did hear your message to stay home, stay in, and that was really so important. But right now, the safest place still to be is home, and really to try to avoid any unnecessary trips still until probably tomorrow. Since last night, our EMTs and paramedics have responded to more than 200 incidents, distinct clinical incidents, as of like 4 o'clock this afternoon. And when I just checked the board coming in here now, it's a little bit better. There were 16 active cases on the board across the city. You can help us still by staying home then. As you can imagine, during a blizzard, the degree of difficulty of each call goes up. Every incident takes longer. Navigating snow-covered streets, accessing homes, safely transporting patients all become more challenging. And our members are doing a great job as always. Our public work crews and plow drivers need the room to clear the roads, and during the last storm, blocked streets and heavy traffic did make it difficult for our ambulances to get where they needed. So we're asking people to still adhere to that and listen to what Chief Gove was saying as far as removing vehicles. We had some very good success today. A couple of times Public Works did come up to help open up a street, some of the smaller side streets that we had to get to, and it really, so we had no negative impact at all for our patients getting to those calls, and we want to thank them as well. Also, on the overnight, I know the mayor mentioned it, but calls to 911 and just observations by police, street outreach workers, and other city departments identified some individuals potentially at risk out there, and that they were able to be attended to and get them to hospitals so that we, knock on wood, we've had no tragedies. A couple of things I just want to point out, though, too, as we go in for the coming days. It's still going to be a long haul for everybody to clear out their own property, to dig out cars. The snow's heavy. I tried my hand at it this morning before I came to work, and I'll get back to that later. It's so you really have to pace yourself, particularly if you have any kind of underlying medical conditions. Certainly if you have cardiac disease or something else, you should really think about, if possible, hiring someone to do it. If not, maybe get a family member, a friend, maybe a neighborhood kid who's got no school tomorrow too, to get out there and see if they can't help you out with some of that. If you experience difficulty, shortness of breath, chest pain, any kind of tightness, like a stop, rest, if it doesn't go away immediately, then call 911 and have us come check you out, please. The other point I just want to reiterate we made yesterday was about carbon monoxide, as it is a risk indoors and out. Outside, it's a risk if clearing cars, when we get successive snowfalls and you get potential blockage around exhaust pipes, you can get a buildup of carbon monoxide in the cars. And if somebody's sitting in the car while it's running and you're clearing it around, you could be potentially putting them in a really, really hazardous, dangerous environment. So try not to do that. Keep the windows open when the car's running, and until you have it all completely cleared out. The second thing is, like, if you wind up with any issues in the home, losing heat, heating with ovens, heating with stoves, besides other fire hazards that the commissioner can tell you about, is also can really boost the carbon monoxide level in the homes. So have a working carbon monoxide detector, but also if you start to get dizzy, alter mental status, and you notice in a couple people in the house, that's time to crack a window or get out the fresh air, but certainly call 911. The fire department will come and check the environment for you. So stay healthy and help each other out for the next few days. Patience is the watchword here from everybody. We got a few more days before we get out of this. Thank you. Oh, and Police Commissioner Cox is next.
How's everyone doing? I hope you dug out safely. The snow emergency, as the mayor's already mentioned, is still in effect, so we're asking folks to please stay off the road and also move your car if you happen to be parked on those banned areas. We've towed over 676 cars as of 4 o'clock today, and we don't want to tow any more vehicles at all. And so we're asking folks to, if you're on those those ways, please go out and move your vehicle. The police department has been working with the mayor's language teams, and so we're doing the announcements in both English and Spanish in those areas. So if you hear something, please go out and actually move your vehicle. That's very helpful. During the actual peak of the storm, as usual, there were folks who decided to drive out there, and there were some minor accidents around certain places. Some of the intersections are kind of perilous because with the wind, the blizzard conditions, it had a way of blocking the intersection, so the lights seemed as though they weren't working. So we're asking folks, until this emergency is actually over, please stay off the roads and allow public safety to do their jobs, and public works to, more importantly, make sure our streets and sidewalks are clear. And outside of that, if people see anyone who needs any help along the roadways or any shelter or any emergency services, please dial 911, not 311, and we will make sure that we get those people the help that they need. So thank you very much. And up next is Chief Burke. I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'd just like to say in advance, thank everybody that's going to clean out their hydrant. But I second Chief Hooley's advice. If you have any physical impairments, don't do it. Our firefighters are very grateful that you do it for them, but they will be there tomorrow. They might cause a little traffic jam in the streets because they are active. They're on duty with the fire truck, but they'll move right along as fast as they get the shoveling done. There's one other issue. Power lines down, any type of line down, nobody should go near it. You don't know if it's live or not. Please dial 911. We have extra staff on duty tonight and last night that stay by the lines that are down, waiting for Eversource to come and shut the power down. So please, nobody, no children, nobody should go near power lines or any lines that are down. You don't know if they're cable or power. But thank you very much, everybody.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Adrian Jordan, Chief of Emergency Preparedness. I just had one ask, that the residents sign up for boston.gov/alerts. That's where you can get your multilingual information about what's going on in the city in a real-time basis. Not only does it help our other city platforms, but here you can get it directly to your phone for the folks that aren't internet savvy, whatever it is. You can get it in the form of a text or in the form of a message. And I think it's a real good platform for city residents, especially for the elderly. So please, when you get a chance, boston.gov/alerts. The other thing I wanted to bring to the forefront is our elderly residents here in the city, and understanding that there's city resources available for our elderly folks here as it relates to, let's say you have down wires, trees on your property. There is help here in the city. A lot of it's on the website, so please, we are here to help. We are coordinated in everything that we do, and I wanted to thank you guys for highlighting the message for us over the last couple of days, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Questions?
I want to ask about, in the last storm, there was a 62-year-old man who died outside South Station. Will stations be open?
That was not the last storm, technically, right? I think it was December rather than, it was actually not in the January storm at all.
My mistake.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. Thank you. Will stations be open overnight, MBTA stations tonight, and how will the city be preventing that from happening again?
Yeah, as you heard, we have had all hands on deck in terms of coordination between city departments and coordination with outreach teams that are out through community organizations like the Pine Street Inn and others. The city and the state are in constant communication, and every possible effort is being made and should be made to ensure that people are safe and warm under these terrible conditions. The goal is that when people, our goal is that no one should be out on the street. And the shelters are there. They are at capacity, but finding additional capacity, and they work really hard in partnership with the city to do that. And so anyone who is out should be connected with and then given transportation to get to somewhere indoors. And so that is the plan, and that's the type of work that's already been happening. I believe the number that I had from our housing team, which we can verify for you, is something like 54 people were picked up and identified who needed to get indoors last night, overnight, and were able to get into shelter.
For the people who don't want to accept help in that way, will MBTA stations be open, like South Station?
My understanding is that every effort is being made so that people can be in a safe place indoors.
Just a quick question. At the last storm, and you referenced this in your remarks, I had heard from people, particularly in Dorchester and Roxbury, who felt like that parking ban was lifted early, cars were in, and then the streets couldn't get cleared. It sounds like you heard similar feedback. I'm wondering if you can explain to people what goes into the decision to lift it and when.
Yeah, so I think there were two pieces that we had heard from the last storm. One is when the ban itself was lifted, and then the other was how much notice people had that the ban was about to be lifted. And so we wanted to give more time on both fronts this time around, because we know you're rearranging your lives to go schlep out to the garage and get the car and get it back out there before the rates go up. So we wanted to give plenty of notice that this ban will now be in effect at least through 6 p.m. tomorrow. The hope is that at that point the weather and the snow and cleanup looks okay, but we will at closer to that time give official word as to when it is going to be lifted. And when it is kept in place longer, again, we know it is a lot of patience that's required from residents as to the disruption, but it really allows the plows then to get the snow cleared all the way to the curb, as opposed to there might be a car here or there and you can't clear it all the way, and then it kind of builds up around the vehicle, and then it ends up all back in the street or on the sidewalk anyway.
Could you just explain what goes into making the decision? What metrics do you look at? Or
Yeah, Nick, do you want to say more about that?
Sure.
So in the last event, the majority of the snowfall came down between Sunday afternoon and Monday morning. And unfortunately, but we ended up, what was originally forecasted as just a couple inches for that Monday night ended up being over 5 inches of snow. So, we had lifted the ban early on Monday evening, and unfortunately we spent most of Monday night chasing that additional snowfall, and we lost the opportunity to do some of that snow removal that we would have liked to have done. By extending the ban this time, as the mayor mentioned, this is going to give us a lot more time to push back to the curb, even hopefully make up some space from the first storm. So also that we can get in there with some of that heavy equipment to actually pile and do some of the removal as well.
Some of this will be based on, would you say, when the clearance is to a degree that we feel it's...
Exactly. Yeah.
And then lastly, Commissioner, I think we saw some ATVs out on Huntington Ave. Are those new, or what's?
No, we've had the Polaris vehicles since I think when I came in 22.
Okay.
We're using the community policing vehicles to get people out, but they also work well in the snow as well. So
I was just curious.
Yes.
Can you talk about the evolving nature of these snow emergencies? Boston hasn't had a winter like this in quite some time, so was there a bit of kind of like an on-ramp for you guys? And how have you evolved in terms of making plans for future storms?
There is so much expertise within our departments, folks who have worked for the city for decades and decades who know every detail of how to plan ahead, maintain our vehicles, ramp up the salt and the salt stores and the plows and the contractors that are then pulled in for what period of time, matching that with the forecasts. All that being said, every storm is its own unique situation, and there are always new residents to Boston. There are always different conditions now versus before. So we have to approach each one on its own and take the learnings and the feedback that we've gotten from recent storms to help do better every single time. I think the challenge last time around was really that the temperatures were extremely low afterwards and stayed low for a very, very long period of time, which made it hard for people to be outside for long periods shoveling. It also meant that snow that got packed down and wasn't cleared away right away turned into ice and was very dangerous. And then those snowbanks kind of hardened over time and then were even more difficult, and you really couldn't get at it with a shovel, and we had to get equipment out there to get at it. So hopefully the temperatures will stay a little bit more cooperative this time around, but what we had this time that we didn't have last time was the very, very strong winds. And so many more downed trees, many more power outages, snow that is heavy and wet, and a true nor'easter rather than just kind of a lot but light and fluffy. And so all those conditions make each one a fun and unique, different challenge, and it requires everyone to come together across the city and have patience as we're taking care of each other and digging out collectively.
When it comes to shoveling the sidewalks, after the last storm, you floated the idea of when homeowners aren't doing it, having the city do it and then potentially fining those homeowners. Is that something that you're considering for this time around? How are you going to deal with these homeowners that are not shoveling?
Yeah, I think when we switch to a new system like that, we'll need to have significant notice for everyone and a real discussion that's vetted through our, through with the administration and the city council about the level of fines and the charges and whether we need to seek additional legislative changes to make that possible or whether we can find the space to do that within the existing city charter. So that won't be in place this time around, but we already have a system where we issue violations that come with a fine, and sometimes for the certain properties, it's a fine every single time, and you kind of notice that pattern. We are already within the, from then until now, thinking ahead about how we will reach out proactively to those property owners who might have multiple violations and just make sure we're having a direct conversation. Even before this storm, we reached out to the state and the MBTA about those trouble spots that we saw had many violations after last time that were state property so that we could keep an eye out on things. Similarly, all of the plows have GPS trackers in them, so we look at not only the 311 data that comes in, which can a little bit be based on who knows about the app and is able to use it and call in, and doesn't capture every single one of the problem areas. But by looking at the GPS data on where the plows had to go after the storm was done, we can go see where there was additional cleanup that was required that had to happen, and those are on a list now that we have been planning ahead for this time around as well. I think, this is a city with many 800 miles of roadway, right? And many hundreds of miles of sidewalk. It's not feasible for the city to, for the scale and capacity that it would take for the city to assume the responsibility for every foot of sidewalk is not something that's possible at this moment. But we do know and have identified where some of those priority sidewalks are, whether it's around school zones or around senior centers and senior homes, places that are connected to major thoroughfares, that would be a good starting point if we were to move to a new kind of model where the city would assume responsibility and then charge back. We've also been thinking about whether there's a vetted list of vendors or folks who are willing to shovel and contract for that opportunity, if the city could help put together some kind of list and connect people to those things. So it will likely be, hopefully we won't have too many more storms to test this out on in the weeks to come. But these are all things that we're thinking about now that we've had a really quite intense winter season this time around.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.